Picture this: the 1990s, a golden age for motorsport. While rally cars were flying through forests and F1 cars were screaming at 18,000 RPM, another revolution was happening on the world's greatest circuits. This was the era of the GT1 category, a time when race cars were barely disguised, road-legal hypercars. Manufacturers were given a simple yet insane rule: build a small batch of street versions of your race car to compete. This led to some of the most iconic and beautiful machines ever made: the McLaren F1 GTR, the Porsche 911 GT1, the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR. These weren't just race cars. They were legends born from a loophole, homologation specials that brought Le Mans-level performance to the streets. It was a wild, unforgettable chapter in automotive history, and we're just getting started. If you love insane cars, make sure to follow for more stories from this incredible era. Thanks for watching. Have you ever seen a race car that looks so wild, so extreme, that it barely resembles the road car it's based on? If you have, you might have been looking at a legend from one of motorsport's most iconic eras, the GT1 era. Today, we're taking a trip back to the 1990s, GT1 Cars, a time when rulebooks were more like suggestions, and manufacturers went all out to build the fastest, most outrageous machines on the planet. This was the golden age of sports car racing, a period that gave us some of the most memorable cars in history. We're talking about the McLaren F1 GTR, the Porsche 911 GT1, the Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR, and the Nissan R390 GT1. These weren't just race cars. They were mythological beasts brought to life, designed with one goal in mind: to dominate the world's most grueling endurance races, especially the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans. So, what exactly was a GT1 car? The GT stands for Grand Touring, which traditionally meant a car that was comfortable for long-distance travel, but also had a sporty edge. The 1 signified the top tier, the fastest and most powerful class. In the mid-90s, the rules for the BPR Global GT Series, which would later become the FIA GT Championship, required that manufacturers build a certain number of road-legal versions of their race cars to be eligible to compete. This was called homologation. Initially, this meant taking a supercar, like the McLaren F1, and stripping it out for racing. The McLaren F1 was already a world beater on the road, so turning it into a race car was a natural step. And in 1995, it did the unthinkable, winning Le Mans outright on its debut. It was a fairy tale story, but it also painted a giant target on McLaren's back. This victory woke up the sleeping giants. Porsche, a brand synonymous with Le Mans, saw McLaren's success and decided they needed a new weapon. But instead of turning a road car into a race car, they flipped the script. They designed a pure, no-compromise prototype race car, and then built a handful of slightly detuned, road-legal versions just to meet the rules. The result was the Porsche 911 GT1. It had the face of a 911, but from the driver's seat backward, it was a full-blown Le Mans prototype. This was a game-changer. The era of homologation specials had truly begun. Mercedes-AMG followed suit with even more aggression. Their CLK GTR shared little more than headlights and a grille with its road-going namesake. It was an engineering masterpiece, a carbon fiber missile designed from the ground up to conquer the racetrack. The road version, the Strassen version, was one of the most extreme and exclusive hypercars ever made, a race car with license plates, built only because the rules demanded it. Over in Japan, Nissan wasn't sitting still either. They joined the fray with their R390 GT1, a sleek and powerful machine developed in partnership with Tom Walkinshaw Racing, the same team that helped Jaguar win Le Mans in the 80s. Like its German rivals, the R390 was a race car first, with only a couple of road versions ever built to satisfy the regulations. One of them famously resides in Nissan's Zama Heritage Garage, a testament to this wild period. What made these cars so special was the sheer diversity and engineering freedom. You had mid-engine V12s from McLaren and Mercedes, a twin-turbo flat-six from Porsche, and a twin-turbo V8 from Nissan, all battling it out on the same track. The aerodynamics were insane. Huge wings, deep splitters, and complex bodywork were all designed to glue these cars to the pavement at over 200 miles per hour, especially down the famous Mulsanne Straight at Le Mans. These GT1 cars were visually stunning, sounding absolutely glorious, and incredibly fast. The speed of these GT1 cars often rivaled, and sometimes even surpassed, the purpose-built Le Mans prototypes they were technically supposed to be slower than. The competition was fierce, not just on the track, but in the design studios and factories. Manufacturers were locked in an expensive arms race, pouring millions into developing ever faster, ever more extreme cars. This technological battle pushed the boundaries of what was thought possible in a GT car. They were essentially prototypes, hiding in a grand tourer's clothing. But like all great parties, this one had to come to an end on the racetrack at some point. Had to come to an end. The very thing that made the GT1 era so spectacular, the race car first, road car second philosophy, also led to its downfall. The costs spiraled out of control, and manufacturers started to question the return on their massive investments. The cars had become so far removed from their production counterparts that the marketing link was becoming tenuous. A pivotal moment came in 1999 at Le Mans. Mercedes arrived with their new CLR, the successor to the all-conquering CLK GTR. However, a critical aerodynamic flaw with the Mercedes CLR caused the cars to become airborne, with two dramatic flips during practice and the race itself. Thankfully, the drivers were okay, but the incidents were a stark reminder of the dangers of pushing aerodynamic boundaries to the absolute limit. It was a wake-up call for the sport. The governing bodies realized that the class had become too fast, too expensive, and too dangerous. By the end of 1999, the top-tier GT1 class, as we knew it, was effectively over. The rules were rewritten, and the focus shifted to cars that were much more closely related to their production versions, leading to the GT classes we see today, like GTE and GT3. While safer and more sustainable, many would argue that a spark of the untamed, creative madness was lost. So why do we still talk about these cars with such reverence? Because they represent a perfect storm of creativity, competition, and pure, unadulterated speed. The GT1 era gave us cars that were not only dominant on the track, but also became bedroom wall poster icons for a generation. They were the physical embodiment of automotive ambition, a brief, brilliant moment when regulations allowed engineers to dream big and build cars that still capture our imaginations decades later. They were more than just race cars. They were legends. The McLaren F1 GTR, the Porsche 911 GT1, the Mercedes CLK GTR, these names are spoken with awe by racing fans for a reason. They remind us of a time when win on Sunday, sell on Monday was taken to its most glorious and absurd extreme. It was an era of homologation heroes, and we were lucky to witness it. Thank you so much for joining me on this look back at the incredible GT1 era. What's your favorite car from this period? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more deep dives into motorsport history. We'll see you in the next one.